Today, we're going to dive into a really moving story about connection, hope, and heartbreak in our digital world. It's called The Boy Who Waited Online. It's a strange thought, isn't it? You can be surrounded by millions of people, a whole city buzzing around you, and still feel utterly and completely alone. That feeling? Well, that's right at the heart of the story we're exploring today. So, let's start with part one, A World Behind a Screen. This is where we meet Arian, a young man whose entire universe really was contained within the four walls of his room, all filtered through his laptop screen. So let's get to know Arian a little bit. He's 28 and he lives with cerebral palsy. This means his physical world is pretty limited. He spends most of his days inside, which, as you can imagine, leads to a lot of social isolation. He doesn't have many friends to just, hang out with and share things with. And yet, underneath all of that, he held on to this quiet hope, this belief that somewhere out there, someone would get him, someone would understand. Okay, part two, A Promise Across the Wires. Because one evening, that little spark of hope he was holding on to suddenly lit up in the form of a simple message that would, well, change absolutely everything. And this was it. This is how it started. Hi, are you from India? A simple, casual message from an 18-year-old girl named Aya. It's nothing fancy, nothing poetic. But for Arian, sitting alone in his room, this one question was like a door creaking open in his silent world. And from that one simple message, something really beautiful began to grow. They started talking every single day about everything, their dreams, their fears, all the little things you can't really tell just anybody. And then Aisha said this to him, I feel comfortable talking to you. A real, powerful bond of trust was being built, one message at a time. Now this is a big one. The weight of these two little words. When Aisha promised she would never leave him, it wasn't just something she said. To Arian, this God promise was everything. It was the anchor he'd been searching for, a valve of stability in a life that felt so uncertain. And this really gets to the heart of it. Just try to imagine going through your whole life feeling, well, invisible, like you're always on the sidelines. And then, all of a sudden, someone doesn't just see you, they choose you. They promise they'll stay. For Arian, this was a feeling he'd never had before. Okay, part three, the fading connection. But as we all know, even the strongest promises can be tested. And pretty soon, this perfect digital connection started to run into some very real-world problems. And here's where the pressure starts. A schoolmate began emotionally blackmailing Aisha, threatening to hurt himself if she didn't accept him. This put her in a totally impossible position, She was caught between her promise to Arian and this incredible fear of what this other boy might do. And you can see the effect of that pressure right here. I mean, just look at the contrast. What started as this warm, constant connection just became distant. Those long daily talks turned into short, late messages, and the openness was replaced with vague excuses like, I'm just busy with studies. The warmth was definitely fading. And that brings us to our fourth part, a heartbreak in silence. This is the moment when all those quiet fears in that growing distance finally collided with a devastating truth. One day, Arian found out she was with someone else. Her confession, I didn't want to hurt you. Well, it was just salt in the wound, wasn't it? That God promise, the very foundation of his happiness, was shattered. And his reaction is just heartbreaking. This wasn't just losing a relationship for him, it was losing his one and only lifeline to the world. His plea, please come back, I have no one except you, it's just filled with this raw desperation that shows you exactly how much he had lost. The fallout from this was severe. The emotional pain wasn't just in his head, it became physical. The betrayal led to panic attacks, sleepless nights, a really deep and private kind of suffering that he had to go through all by himself. And this slide, I think, says it all. 0. That's the number of people he told about what happened. Even while he was in so much pain, he chose to protect her reputation. He carried that entire weight of his heartbreak in complete and total silence. Arian's story is just, wow, it's so tough. But it is also packed with powerful lessons. So let's kind of zoom out for a minute and ask the question, why is it that pure hearts sometimes break the hardest? Well, his story is a perfect example of what you might call a painful attachment. It's this idea that when love is so pure and so all in, it can become the very thing that causes the most intense pain. For someone like Arian, who was already so isolated and vulnerable, the attachment was total, and so the pain of losing it was total too. When you really boil it down, this story just shines a spotlight on so many things we're all navigating today. It shows us the real depth of loneliness, right? And how an online relationship can become incredibly intense. For someone like Arian, it wasn't a part of his life, it was his life. That kind of investment leads to huge vulnerability, putting so much trust into words on a screen. And when that trust is broken, the fallout is real. We saw it with the panic attacks. And you can't forget the outside pressures that played a part. It all just points to one thing we need more of: empathy. And that really brings us to the core message here. Arian's story isn't about weakness, not at all. It's a story about what it means to love with a truly pure heart in a really complicated world. And it's a powerful reminder that loving that deeply is a strength, even if it means you can be broken more deeply too. So I'll just leave you with this question to think about. As we spend more and more of our lives building connections through screens, what's our responsibility here? How do we look out for and protect the most vulnerable, the most sincere, the purest hearts among us?